Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the ICP or Internet Computer Protocol crypto coin round trip. As you guys know, in November of 2024, we have been talking less and less about ICP, and the reason is because of what is going on with the coin and with the network. Now, here's the deal. A lot of people are saying, Cryptoviser, you're just a fudster, you're just an ICP bear, and it's like, you don't know what the F you're talking about. You can watch my videos, go to my channel and look at my videos dating back many years. I have been a huge ICP advocate and huge internet computer bull, but at some point, you have to know when your investment is just better taking a loss and moving on to other investments, right? Because at the end of the day, Internet Computer was one of the worst top 50 coins in all of 2025, going down over 50% year to date in 2025 until the end of the year. Now, we're going to talk about this little pump and dump here, this round trip. But at the end of the day, we could have chosen any other coin, literally in the top 50, besides maybe 1, 2, or 3 of other coins in the top 50. And they would have performed better than Internet Computer. And this was during the AI pump, during the AI narrative, during the AI, all-time highs in valuation, in companies doing really well. And why was this? Why did we see a round trip in the price? Well, at the end of the year, literally almost to the day that I posted a video saying I sold my ICP, magically, Internet Computer started pumping. And not just pumping, going up over 3 times and then coming right back down, which was a round trip, which was a pump and dump. But why did we see the pump and dump? And what other metrics in the market make me believe that my thesis on the coin, not the technology, is very, very accurate? Make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. We upload every single day to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Also, do me a favor, give this video a free thumbs up. You can also use your hype points down below here on YouTube to hype up this video. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Let's get into the ICP round trip. Now, we have had to block literally hundreds of accounts. These are bot accounts or ICP maximalists. Guys, this is an investment channel. We're here to make money. Bottom line, we're here to make money. And we're not here to get into pump and dumps. We're not here to get into manipulation of pricing in the coins. I mean, if you guys have been around since the last cycle, Internet Computer was clearly manipulated in the price from its launch until basically it went down to $3, right? And a lot of that had to do with counter trading and perpetual futures and all of that. But guys, there is clear manipulation going on in this price of this crypto. I want you guys to think about this. The entire year 2025. Now, let's be clear. 2023 into 2024, ICP performed very well. We called the bottom of the market in 2023. This is when I really started to ramp up coverage on Internet Computer at about the $2.90 range. We went from $2.90 all the way up to almost $20. So basically like an 8 to 10x. 8 to 10x. That was a bull market. Now, some of the bulls in ICP, they never sold because they're always going to be bulls, but we're here to make money in the market. That is what this channel is about, making money. And so, yeah, we sold and we took some profits out of the table, right? And then we had the AI narrative, which ICP jumped on. And I was very, very bullish for what ICP was doing from an AI perspective. But I don't think the rollout was that good, to be honest. That's my personal opinion. You can disagree. That's totally fine. But that's my opinion. I don't think the rollout of Caffeine AI was great. I don't think the integration of Caffeine AI or any AI into the Internet Computer's network was great, because Caffeine AI is not living on the Internet Computer. It's a separate project, and there's no public metrics of it. But either way, like if we just throw all of that out, right? Most of the year, you guys can see clearly on the chart here, but the maximalists, the ICP maximalists, Cryptoviser, you're just fudding. We weren't the worst performing crypto. It was Fartcoin. And it's like, guys, we're talking about real cryptos here. We're talking about real money making in this market. And you're talking to me about Fartcoin versus ICP. Like, get the F off my channel. Like, that's how I feel. Many of my viewers, you guys are very smart. You get it. But there's a lot of people that don't. And they're like, no, Cryptoviser, we weren't downtrending most of the year. It's like, we clearly were. And by the way, we also invest on this channel, understanding not every investment is going to pay out, right? And we've taken losses on this channel. We sell into losses sometimes to rotate into other positions that are going to do good. But again, what we saw in the end of 2025 from the ICP ecosystem was very, very concerning in my view. Very concerning because it mirrored what happened with Cardano in the previous cycle almost exactly, in sentiment, in attitude, in the maximalist saying, Cryptoviser, you're going to regret selling your coin. Like they're threatening me on what I'm doing in my portfolio because it doesn't match what they're doing in their portfolio. This was very concerning. But not only was that concerning, but then we saw a pump and a dump, right? Like I posted in the beginning of November, end of October, that I sold my ICP, some or all of it. And by the way, you guys still don't know whether I sold some or all of it and when I sold because all of my videos are delayed. And all the trades that we talk about on my channel, they're delayed also. And I delay them specifically to avoid counter trading. And so, and by the way, there's also a lot of trades that we make that are not even discussed on this channel, right? We talk about usually the macro and specific cryptos and stocks on this channel, but all the trades are not really discussed. And specifically because there is a lot of counter trading of large YouTuber accounts and large like Twitter accounts and stuff like that. So we try to avoid a lot of that. But yeah, it was very interesting that as soon as I posted that video, like I sold my ICP, that was what the video was called. All of a sudden, based on nothing, based on no fundamental change in any of the network dynamics, any of the actual, ecosystem, like programs like Caffeine AI, no major changes. All of a sudden, we started to see this run up in the price, all the way up from about under $3, all the way up to over $9. And I was getting all these bot comments, all of these comments from accounts that don't even subscribe to my channel, never commented on my videos before. Cryptoviser, you're going to regret this. You're going to end up having to buy at higher prices. Like, first of all, like that's not how we invest in this channel. Like every trade is independent. And I would imagine many of my viewers, the same kind of thing. Like when you exit a position, you move on, right? Will you re-enter the position again in the future? Maybe, maybe not, right? Cardano, for instance, we entered for trading, but not entered for long-term holds. And by the way, Cardano never recovered to the prices that we sold at in the previous cycle, even in this cycle. And I had the same sentiment. Cryptoviser, are you still waiting for 25-cent Cardano? Ha ha ha. Yeah. And then we hit 25 cents and I still didn't buy. So it didn't even matter, right? Because we didn't even end up going anywhere near $3, let alone $2, let alone $1.50 or $1.15. It wavered in this low market or low price. And why did it do that? Well, a lot of it, I believe, was because Cardano was continuing to dilute by inflating the circulating supply, which is what the market cap is based off of. And they were doing this through different funding mechanisms they call Project Catalyst, treasury funding, and stuff like that for these projects that were supposed to, quote unquote, build out the Cardano ecosystem. We're talking about hundreds of millions or billions of ADA, which equates to hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, that was pumped into the circulating supply to these projects to build on Cardano. And to this day, there's still no stable coins. There's still no interoperability. There's still no major DeFi projects. There's still no major companies using Cardano's blockchain. So what exactly were they building that was worth hundreds of millions or billions of ADA being injected into the ecosystem? In my view, nothing, right? It should have been stopped years ago until there was actual proof of concept or actual projects building on their own dime for, like, that's how most things work, right? You start building something and then you get investments when you have proved the concept. That's not what was happening in Cardano. They were just pumping out money. To this day, I think they're still doing it. I don't really follow Cardano, but I believe they're still doing it. That is a huge problem because it keeps the price low and artificially low, effectively, because of all of that money that's being pumped into the ecosystem, and then they're slowly selling it into the market and draining any potential moves to the upside that you would see normally. But because they're continuing to sell, you just see a downtrend in the price. And so with internet computer, when I saw this pump to the upside like this, very rapidly, it was almost like a light switch was just turned off. Like, wait, stop selling, start buying. And all of a sudden, the market dynamics for the full year changed, where we went from one of the worst performing cryptos to instantly, less than a week after I posted my video that I sold my ICP, an uptrend. And this was very, very concerning, right? Not for me because I'm out of the coin effectively, right? But for the market, and by the way, not just that there was manipulation for this pump, but what was going on the rest of the year that ICP was the worst performing crypto with so much excitement and so much anticipation and speculation on this AI. In my view, it seems like the same thing was effectively happening in ICP that was happening in Cardano and potentially still happening in Cardano with dilution. Now you may say, but Cryptoviser, there is really no dilution in ICP because granted, ICP, there is some inflation, but it's not to the same degree that we are seeing with Project Catalyst and Cardano, where they're pumping literally 50 million ADA into these projects that are building on Cardano and then nothing actually gets created for years. I mean, 50 million, I think it was every quarter or every half a year, hundreds of millions over the last few years. But when you think about it, right, it was like a light switch was just turned off, like whoop, stop selling, and then boom, the price moves up. This is very odd. And so when we look at the price of ICP and it's the worst performing or one of the worst performing top 50 coins, what does that make me think? And by the way, I want to be very clear. The ICP network and the technology, I think is real, and I, for the most part, am still bullish on. I still think that there's a lot of potential here and opportunity. But when there's manipulation in the coin, it makes, in my view, for me, the coin is worthless because there's no potential way for me to make any money on the coin. Other people are making money by diluting everybody else, and it just creates too many unknowns from an investment perspective. And that's what we do on this channel, right? Many of my viewers, probably you who are watching, you are an investor. You want to make money, long-term or short-term. But you can't do it either way if there's market manipulation in the short term or the long term, period. It cannot happen. And so that made me question what is going on. So I said, let's go look at the Internet Computer dashboard. And by the way, Zero to Hero said, ICP is subject to heavy manipulation. Well, I agree. Now we're going to read the rest of his tweet in a minute, but make sure you guys are giving this video a free thumbs up and also hit the subscribe button. We upload every single day of the year. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the metrics of ICP to understand whether there is and or was manipulation in the price performance of ICP. Now, again, to me, it seems now looking at this that there was insiders or developers or stakers or whoever else, right? Large whales. And this is what I've been saying. Like, I think whales control the ICP market. I believe, based on just what I'm seeing here, that it seems that some of these whales or whoever was manipulating the market, at this point, I don't really even care who it was. It's just that it was going on, that they were just slowly selling into the excitement, the speculation, people excited and getting ready for the AI, to pick up. And they just kept selling small quantities, small quantities, small quantities. The same way that I think that it's happening in Cardano, where Cardano price has barely moved up because they're injecting all this new ADA into the ecosystem. And whoever's receiving the ADA to build on Cardano, they're just selling enough to not really move the market, but maybe not let the market move to the upside. I mean, even the founder of Cardano said, oh, well, we can sell 500 million ADA into the market and the market won't even move. And it's like, does that mean that you did that? Like, how do you know that you're not going to move the market if you put 500 million ADA into the market? Like, to me, that's a huge increase in the supply to not think that the market would move, even in a bull market. That's a lot of coins. Same thing in Bitcoin, right? And so that's what I think was going on. I mean, you can see it. It was like a slow drain. So the bulls or the people speculating on ICP, they were putting their money in, and the whales were selling out, and probably selling out more than what was being bought in. So it was a slow drain. And because everybody was like, oh, well, the price may be down, but we have the AI narrative that we're going to be doing well on. And it just kept draining and draining and draining and draining and draining and draining, right? And then all of a sudden, pop, we go up 300%. Nothing changed in the network. No metrics besides one changed. Now, we're going to get into that in a minute. But Fabio Zero to Hero on X said, ICP is subject to heavy manipulation. His words, not mine. Historically, over-leveraged longs, mostly retail, have been losing money due to deceptive practices of institutions. This is the reality for the vast majority of crypto-related products. Somewhat. Not all crypto is heavily manipulated, but a lot is, right? This is why Wall Street doesn't really want to get involved in crypto, because they are not in control. They want to be in control. They're in control of the stock market, right? So Fabio continues and saying that he was going to talk about liquidation leverage versus liquidation, spot versus futures. But he said, moreover, I'm working on another big video, which I'm displaying sustainability of the ICP blockchain long term. Now, from my viewpoint, he believes that there's manipulation because of leverage. But again, I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think that the case is the whales or the insiders have been selling. And again, how do I know this? Well, we're also seeing largest wallet balances on ICP keep climbing despite the price pullback. And we've seen other reports from IC Terminal and others that show that whale wallets on Internet Computer were continuing to rise. And I think the reason behind that is because as people are selling, which probably was happening right towards the end of the year, I was selling, a lot of others were selling because we're heading into a bear market, right? Generally speaking. And so the whales have to keep buying to keep the price from dropping. And again, if they're in profit because they've been buying the rest of the year, they can afford to buy some of the market back up and acquire more. How do we also know that the whales are buying? Well, Fabio even said here, the staked ICP supply increased by 150,000 ICP overnight. It's up over 1 million in the last month, up over 8 million in the last 3 months. And the people who are staking on Internet Computer, these are not retail. These are not traders. These are whales. These are insiders. These are developers of the ICP ecosystem. Because generally speaking, like nobody really stakes, especially for long term. Like they have 8-year staking in ICP. Like most of retail and no traders are staking for that long of a time. So if we look at the 1 month report, right, before the pump till after the pump, altogether there were 238 million coins in staking, and now there's 239 million coins. So that's about a 1 million increase. But if you look specifically at the 8-year staking, right, this is long-term staking, it went from 149 million coins to 150.2 million coins. So that's 1.2 million coins added to long-term 8-year stake. And so this is insiders, right? This is whales absorbing the selling pressure and restaking it. Now, again, if you look at the rest of the year, when we were downtrending, it was also increasing the long-term staking, but some of the shorter-term staking was getting unlocked and probably getting sold into the market. But I also wanted to understand what other metrics could have given us some clues into why the price was pumping. Because again, this video is about the round trip, up and then straight back down. And when I look at the Internet Computer's dashboard, none of the metrics on the 1 month chart, if we pull up the 1 month or the 3 month, it doesn't really matter at this point. But on the 1 month chart, none of these, everything was kind of steady, right? Canister smart contracts were increasing, but they were increasing before that. You can see that on the 3 month chart and the 1 year chart. So there was nothing like out of the blue, like we're looking for things that are different, right? And then I saw this, the conversion rate for T cycles, which are essentially the compute payment coin, because to pay for the compute, to pay for the storage or the data usage on the internet computer, you don't use ICP, you convert ICP into, they're called cycles. It's another type of currency. And what we saw here was at the end of October into the mid-November, we saw a massive increase, significantly above the 30-day moving average. And this is more of a deviation away from the moving average than we've seen in a very, very long time. But it pumped, and then as soon as it started coming down, the price followed. And so to me, this shows that there was probably some type of manipulation going on in the network by maybe the whales. Maybe the whales were just like, oh, let's just start buying up some of these coins to pump the price and make Cryptoviser and all these bears, regret, as they say, regret selling their coins, right? And obviously, I'm just joking. I don't really think the price had anything to do with me, but it is kind of interesting that the price pumped literally when we posted the video. I sold my ICP. And so because there's such heavily manipulation, and again, even an ICP maximalist believes there's ICP price manipulation, it's not investable, right? Tradable, yes, because people want to trade the pumps, but there's no, if I would have seen this kind of pump after Caffeine AI launched the first, second, or third time, or a major announcement about the ICP ecosystem or something like that, I would still be bullish. But this happened based on nothing. This pump happened based on Cryptoviser sold his ICP, right? This pump happened based on no metrics fundamentally changing on the network. This pump happened literally at the end of the bull market when everything across the board, stocks, cryptos, everything was hitting all-time record highs or very close there too. But it wasn't based on any fundamentals. And by the way, Bitcoin was moving down. So this is like almost inversely correlated, where when Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market's moving higher, which it was basically all of 2025, internet computer was moving down. And then Bitcoin starts moving down and ICP starts moving higher. That is odd as well. And it just seems like there's a big disconnect between ICP's price movements and the rest of the market. But you guys have to be aware, like the whales or the insiders or the maximalists. And when I say insiders, I really mean like maximalists, like people who are in the community, in the ecosystem. That's all of their coins are in ICP, right? Like they want you to believe that this pump is going to be a sustainable pump and Cryptoviser was wrong and all of that. But smart investors understand, like, the market doesn't just move based on absolutely nothing. Could there be an announcement coming? Will there be an announcement coming? Maybe there's an announcement by the time you're watching this video. But in my view, I don't know that it's worth the risk of an investment at the end of the cycle, right? And again, this is the same type of thing that we saw happen with Cardano in the previous cycle. We saw a massive move up in Cardano in 2021 from 3 cents or 2020 to 2021, 3 cents all the way up to $3.10. So over 100x. And it never recovered to those levels, right? It had pumps after I exited my position, and thousands and thousands of Cardano maximalists unsubscribed from my channel because I sold in my portfolio, even though my portfolio shouldn't have any impact on your portfolio, right? And the same thing is happening here. There's all of these bulls saying, Cryptoviser, you're an idiot. Cryptoviser, you're wrong. Cryptoviser, I've had to block hundreds of accounts, bots. And I was like, okay, but you coming on my channel and acting like this and saying this and, pumping the coin 300% doesn't make me more bullish, right? I want to see usage of these coins, usage of the network, usage of the AI capabilities. I want to see the data to support that. It's the same thing like the Ripple and XRP ecosystem. The XRP ecosystem is so bullish on XRP, yet Ripple doesn't even use XRP. Ripple continues to sell XRP. They're doing exactly what I'm saying it looked like the whales were doing in ICP all year, selling coins onto the market and holding the price back from going higher. That's what Ripple is doing to XRP, but the XRP community is like, Cryptoviser, you're an idiot. How could you say that this is going to be the world reserve currency, XRP? And it's like, no, SWIFT is not using XRP. Western Union is not using XRP. Ripple isn't even using XRP. And so it just goes into the narrative that none of these coins, or very few of these coins, actually succeed in what they're going after. I mean, really only a few. And it's really Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is not even being used for payments. I mean, we just talked about Kathy Woods from ARK Invest changing her analysis on the 2030 Bitcoin price outlook, dropping it by 30% and saying that stable coins have taken over what they thought Bitcoin would be used for, aka payments. Nobody uses Bitcoin for payments. Nobody uses the Lightning Network. It's very, very few. And so this idea that everybody's going to be using ICP's Caffeine AI when there's hundreds of other vibe coding software, it's ridiculous. They need integrations. They need partnerships. And it's not taking away anything the developers have been working at, because I do think that they have top tier developers and, people working on the internet computer, but it's not enough, especially when you're competing with OpenAI, with Google Gemini, with NVIDIA, with Anthropic, and all of these other companies that are getting, trillions of dollars of investment money. Like, your product has to be superior, or you have to have an integration. The same way in the last cycle, I told my viewers, if Cardano doesn't get a stable coin like Tether or USDC on their blockchain, it cannot succeed. And the whales and the maximalists at Cryptoviser, we don't need a stable coin. We don't need USDC. USDC needs Cardano. And it's like, clearly not. I mean, clearly not. Well, Cryptoviser, we don't need an Ethereum bridge. They get hacked. Okay, well, nobody's using Cardano to this day. That's a problem. And to me, the community saying, well, we don't need this, we don't need this, we don't need this, instead of saying, yeah, we need this, we need to get this on board. Same way in ICP ecosystem, you saw the maximalists saying, Cryptoviser, technically, Caffeine AI does run on the internet computer because it launches onto the internet computer. It's like, okay, what are the metrics? How many users are there? How many paid users are there? How many companies are using Caffeine AI for vibe coding? And granted, I get it. Caffeine AI just launched, so it's going to take a while. But you're putting all your eggs in one basket. And there's still no interoperability besides chain fusion, which is not good enough. There's still no stable coins like USDC or Tether outside of chain fusion, which is just not good enough. There's no major integrations with any data or cloud computing platform or AI platform integrating with internet computer. That's a problem. Caffeine AI is on SWI before ICP is on SWI. That's a problem. But the insiders will say, no, Cryptoviser, we're pumping, stop fudding. Well, I mean, at some point, you have to move on. And that's what we're doing on this channel. We're moving on to other investments. Will we reinvest in internet computer coin in the future? Potentially. But the manipulation has got to stop. This kind of light switch where all of a sudden, after a year of draining the system, all of a sudden, poof, we do a 300% increase. That is clear manipulation. And whether it's coming from the traders or the whales or the maximalists, it doesn't matter. The point is, you should not see this type of pump just out of nowhere. You should see it based on actual network activity, actual network integrations. And that's not what we saw. And for that, that's why we had an ICP price round trip. I'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure you guys give the video a free thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video. And other than that, thanks for watching.